Disney's 101 Dalmatians in this holiday story called A Lucky Christmas. Brought to you and narrated by your friends at Red Cat. Let's get started. Christmas was only a week away. My wife Perdita and I had just rescued the Dalmatian puppies from that wicked Cruella de Vil, and were they happy to be home. Everyone in the Radcliffe house was getting ready for the holiday, especially my pet Roger. He was hard at work on a new song for a Christmas Day television show. All of us hounds were in the living room watching Thunderbolt, the wonder dog, when the television went on the blink. Our pup Lucky began to bark loudly at the screen. Thunderbolt was his hero, after all. Nanny came in to see what the fuss was all about. Oh my, we can't have a broken television. The Mister's song is going to air in a week. I better call the repairman. But when the repairman came, he couldn't fix the television. Sorry, sir, but I'm going to have to take it back to my shop. Roger glared at the fuzzy screen, puffing on his pipe. Anita, that's Roger's wife, well, she was worried. Will you have it back in time for Christmas? My husband's new song is going to be sung on the television show that day. Don't worry, ma'am. I'll return it by then. I followed Roger upstairs, and that's when it happened. Afraid that he'd miss out on the rest of Thunderbolt, Lucky jumped into the box with the television. The repairman picked up the box and carried it outside. Then he put it in his truck, shut the door, and drove off. It wasn't until that night when Purdy was tucking the little nippers into bed, and I was counting them, as I usually did, that I noticed one was missing. Purdy, I only count 98 puppies. Will you double check? I'll have a look around. I ran upstairs to the living room. Maybe the pup was watching television. Wait a minute, there's no television. Suddenly I knew who I was looking for. Lucky. He had been awfully interested in that television box when the repairman put the set away. Just then Purdy raced into the room. Pongo, it's Lucky who's missing. I know, Purdy. Let's wake up the pets. Roger and Anita were sound asleep. Purdy tugged the covers off Anita. I stood next to Roger, barking loudly in his ear. Pongo, be quiet. Anita sat up. Something could be wrong. You'd better go check. Oh, all right. Purdy and I nervously waited for Roger to put on his robe and slippers. Then we ran down the stairs ahead of him. What's the trouble, Pongo? I paused at the front door. Roger peered out the window. It's a blizzard out there. Anita came down the stairs. I'll get our coats. Then Nanny burst into the room. I just checked the puppies. Lucky's missing. I bet that repairman took him. He's probably working for Cruella, like those two bandits Jasper and Horace. Roger shook his head. I don't think so, Nanny. No one has seen or heard from Cruella since her car accident. Besides, what would she want with one puppy? Come on, let's go look for him. Outside, it was snowing hard. The wind was kicking up too. Purdy and I gave the front steps a good sniff, but they were already buried in snow. We looked up and down the street. Come on, Purdy, let's head for the TV repair shop. But I don't know where it is, Pongo. I have an idea. We yanked our leashes and tried to pull our pets down the street. Hold on, boy. Which way do you think we should go, Anita? Let's try the park. Purdy and I knew Lucky wasn't there. Even if he had gone to the park, it would be impossible to find him in this blizzard. We looked all over for him. It was useless. Come on, Pongo. Come on, Perdita. Let's go back home. The next morning, Nanny called the television repairman. We all gathered by the telephone. Could you please just take a look around your shop? First, Nanny looked hopeful. Then she frowned. Well, thank you anyway. What the repairman didn't know was that Lucky had gotten as far as the repair shop. While he was unloading his truck, our puppy had jumped out of the box and dashed across the street. A newsboy delivering papers saw the near accident. He went over to Lucky. knelt down and petted our frightened pup. The boy didn't think Lucky belonged to anyone, so he took him home. The boy's mother, however, didn't want a dog. You can keep him in the garage until you find his owner. But what if I can't find his owner, Mother? Then he goes to the animal shelter. Meanwhile, back at the Radcliffes, they were still checking around. Anita called the dog catcher. "Hello, I'd like to report a missing Dalmatian puppy." "You won't be going out in this weather? I see. Well, when you resume your rounds, he has little black ears, a red collar, and answers to the name of Lucky. Thank you." The next 3 days were dreadful. Nanny tried to decorate the house, but after hanging only one Christmas stocking, she started to cry. The repairman delivered the television, but no one really cared. Perdita wouldn't eat and sat staring out the window. "Wherever he is, Pongo, I hope he's safe. Don't worry, Purdy. We didn't name him Lucky for nothing. He always manages to keep out of trouble." Roger tried to finish his Christmas song. He put his head in his hand. "I can't concentrate, Anita." "Roger, you must. Think of all the people who will enjoy your song on Christmas Day." "You're right. Darling, I'll try harder." That's the spirit. Anita still had Christmas shopping to do, but the last thing she wanted to see were merry people on the street. On her way home, she thought she saw Lucky tagging along behind a newsboy. "Anita, get a hold of yourself. Every Dalmatian puppy isn't Lucky." Still, she hurried to the corner, but by the time she got there, the boy and the pup were gone. That night was Christmas Eve, but no one was celebrating at our house. Purdy and I had already gone to bed when the carolers came by. Purdy lifted her head. "Pongo, did you hear that?" "Hear what, Purdy?" "It sounded like a puppy howling." "I think it's just a human with a bad voice, dear." Purdy got up and went to the door. At the same time, Anita put down her teacup. "Roger, we have carolers." Roger was busy reading. "Mm-hmm. Let's open the door and listen to them. After all, it is Christmas Eve, and they're singing my favorite carol." "You go ahead, darling. I'm not in the mood." Anita got up and went to the door, but the carolers had gone on to the next house. Now, the one thing I've learned in life is that there's nothing like a mother's instinct. I should have known that Purdy was on to something. One of the carolers was a newsboy, and he had Lucky with him. Block after block, Lucky twisted and turned in the boy's arms until finally the boy put him down. And then, quick as a flash, Lucky took off for home. He wasn't quite sure which way to go. First he tried one way, then the other. Finally he stood shivering under a street lamp. "I'm never going to see my mother and father again." Then someone in a fuzzy red suit and big warm gloves stooped down to pick him up. "Well, well, well, if it isn't Lucky. Shouldn't you be home, snug in your bed? It's Christmas Eve, little fella." The next morning, Purdy and I woke up to the sound of puppies barking. We hurried upstairs to the living room, and there was Lucky, sound asleep in the only stocking that Nanny had hung. We raced over to him and began licking his face. He opened his eyes and started yiping. Nanny came in from the kitchen. "It's Lucky! He's back!" Half asleep, Roger and Anita ran down the stairs. "So it is! Where in the heavens did he come from? And how did he get in that stocking? Look, Roger, he has a red bow around his neck with a card. It says, 'Merry Christmas, Love S.C.' Roger looked at Anita. "Love S.C.? Who is that? You don't think? No, it couldn't be Santa Claus, could it?" "I'm not sure, Roger. All I know is that this is the most wonderful Christmas present we could wish for." Anita and Roger hugged each other, and all the dogs began barking at once. Nanny shook her head in amazement. "It most certainly is." Then Roger hurried over to the television and turned it on. "Come on, everyone, the show is starting." We all gathered around him to celebrate the luckiest Christmas we'd ever had. The end. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from your friends at Red Cat.